The New World wasn't about land, it was about trade. I'm Asia Harriet Hales. I'm a public intellectual, which means I'm smart for a living, and we have a lot of history to cover, so you might want to get your note. In 1453, the Ottomans defeated Rome. Rome had an eastern part and a western part. Both parts were considered Rome. Byzantine is a name that we made up later after we created race. Remember, from 1453 until 1922, people who would be considered people of color in today's America were in charge of all the major trade routes in the world. The Roman Empire had built a bunch of infrastructure and they intersected with other empires in Northern Africa and in Mid-Asia and all of those places. The Ottoman Turks were like, okay, bet, we're going to kill them and now we're Rome. They didn't have to colonize the people when they took over the trade routes because effectively it was the same thing. In 1453, literally all of the trade routes in Europe were east trade routes. So it wasn't like Columbus was like, I wonder what's out there to the west. It was more like, we keep trying to go west, but the Ottomans and then the Seleucids and then the Suleimans keep killing us. They got out empired. So they used the only trade routes that were available to them, which were the transatlantic trade routes that they were building. But the problem was those trade routes led nowhere and went nowhere. And that's not because there were no people there, it's because there was no capitalism there. See, Europe didn't have gold and diamonds and cotton and silk. They didn't have that shit on their own. Okay, so you had the Ottoman Turks, but then you also had the Moors coming up through Spain, through the Iberian Peninsula, and those were African people, and they were also brown. And they were Muslim. So Europe is essentially experiencing a pincer move by brown people, where brown people are now controlling all of the trade and all of the culture and all of the money, and white people are stuck in this little tiny island type situation with no opportunity to expand because they ain't got no more land. They used all their, they ain't got no more beaver. They hunted all their beaver. And since the brown people controlled the water, what they needed was a big trade route that went over land that was under European control. We killed 65 million people so we could win trade wars. I'm not telling you this history so you can feel guilty. I actually don't want you to feel guilty because it's counterproductive. What I want you to do is be productive, be better. And the first step to being better is increasing your comfort with being uncomfortable. If you made it through this video, you can make it through my course. 100 Days to Brave is 5 days a week of short videos covering key concepts of allyship again and again until it becomes comfortable in your body to talk about uncomfortable things. Because if we want to solve problems, we have to talk about them. Which means if you want to be part of the solution, you got to practice being brave. And if you're ready to get started, put brave in the comments and I'll let you know how.